If you're watching this, then you're probably somebody who feels trapped at a job that you absolutely hate, or you're in analysis paralysis because there's so much noise online, or you're somebody that has failed multiple side hustles and have been burned by gurus in the past, promising you the world. And listen, if that's you, it's not your fault because I've been there too. And to be honest with you, we're literally living through some of the craziest times in modern day history. We have AI replacing jobs, we have a failed education system, and we have the wild west of online money making. And so all of these systems were designed to keep you stuck and failing, so it's not your fault. But there has been a massive shift that's been going on behind the scenes that nobody's really been talking about. And we are experiencing a time where the dust is finally settling and a timeless business model is starting to rise on its way into the online money making space. And we're stepping into a time and period experts are calling the digital trade era. And this is a time period where your income is going to be dictated no longer by the system, but is going to be controlled by your skills. So by the end of today's video, you'll have a clear and proven path to be able to capitalize on this shift and understand how to use the digital trade model as one of the most reliable ways to make money online. But more in that in just a moment. The first thing that I want to do is to give you some context on how I even discovered this shift and how I used it to be able to create a life that I only could have imagined growing up. So for my background, I grew up with a single immigrant mom. And during the ages of 4 and 7, we were struggling. And when I say struggling, I would see my mom cry herself to sleep sometimes because she didn't know how she was going to pay for rent that month, let alone be able to feed me and my sister. And so experiencing this pain financially really sowed the seed into my heart that one day I wanted to grow up and be able to take care of her, and so that we'd never have to worry about money ever again. And so I did what I ended up thinking what was best, which was society was telling me go get a corporate job. So I got hired at Costco and I was making $15 an hour. And in my head, I saw my managers making 6 figures, and I was starting to think to myself, hey, maybe this could be my ticket to be able to take care of my mom. And so when I believed that, I ended up pouring my heart into this job. I would work early, stay late, pick up shifts, and I would take notes. And I did everything in my power possible in order to show management that I was qualified to be a leader. And so I moved from the food court into produce and into a forklift driver. And that set me up to be qualified during the holiday season to have the opportunity to move up into management. And so during a 4-month trial period during the seasonal holidays, they picked me and a small group of candidates to be able to have the opportunity to test out at the job and to prove your worth. And for me, I showed up every day, did the hardest jobs possible, and I thought I was doing great. But I vividly remember after the holiday season, when I thought I was going to have the opportunity in the bag, my manager walked up to me and he laid down the fact that he believed I was actually the most immature and the least qualified person that they interviewed. That hit me like a ton of bricks. And I went home that day feeling like an absolute failure. I was sitting on my couch that day, almost wanting to cry, thinking that I was just wasting my time, effort, and energy, and how this person told me what my time was worth. And that's when I decided that I was never ever gonna let somebody tell me what my time was worth ever again. And so that's when I started looking into different ways to make money online. I looked into various multiple different things, but by God's grace, I stumbled across my mentor, Trey, at the time. And Trey was the one who introduced me to the concept and the idea of developing my skills. And he told me that if I helped other people get what they want, they would give me what I wanted. During that time period, he helped me develop my skill set so that I could be able to provide a service to other people that they were willing to pay for. So that's when he taught me things like sales, marketing, content creation, and many other valuable skills that I ended up using to then be able to go on and hone and develop and get relentless about, because I saw that if I could deliver more value to somebody else, they would pay me. And the following was true. I ended up starting to get some momentum over the next few months. I landed my first client, and then I got my second client, and then I got my third client. And that was enough for me to have enough validation to believe that this was the path for me. So at that point, I decided to go into the office and put in my 2 weeks. And I remember the look on my manager's face when I put in my 2 weeks. He didn't say a word, but him and I both knew deep down that my time was worth more than what he told me. And so a few years later, things started popping off, and I've been able to now make my first $1 million online. We've helped 400 clients. I've been in 33 different states. And at this point, I've been able to pay off my mom's mortgage, be able to help her with her bills, be able to travel the world and meet lifelong friends that I'm genuinely proud to have by my side. And all of this wouldn't have been possible unless I learned one lesson, which is you get paid in direct correlation to the value you provide to the marketplace. So the question that we have to answer today is, how do you become more valuable? So before we dive into that, most people actually believe that money takes time and effort, or that getting rich, depends on you being lucky or having some sort of crazy talent or some sort of crazy idea, or that you need to be on the latest trends. Otherwise, you're never going to make it. But if that were true, nurses, construction workers would all be billionaires, and I would have been able to make a lot of money working at Costco. But the reality is that money follows value, and that the law of the market will pay you in direct correlation. So the formula to understand how to increase your value is to understand that your skill with a problem equals a solution. And if you have a solution, that equals value, and more value equals more income. So a skill is a specialized set of knowledge to be able to solve a specific problem. So if you have a solution that people are willing to pay for, you're going to get paid in accordance because you're providing that other person value. And so this isn't a new concept, because you have to understand the reason why I was getting paid $15 an hour at that given point in time at Costco was because I didn't provide a ton of value. The value that I actually provided was pretty much replaceable, and it went for market value, which was $15 an hour, because most people could go into a store and bag groceries and move their body. And so I want you to understand that the concept of being able to raise your value within society isn't a new concept. And let me give you some examples of people that provide solutions and services that are in the modern era. So for example, when your car breaks down, the first thing that you're going to go ahead and do is go bring it to a mechanic. The mechanic is the one who has the specialized knowledge on how to fix your car so that you can get it up and running again. And so with that being said, when you go to the mechanic, you pay him for a solution. It doesn't matter if it takes him a day. It doesn't matter if it takes him a week. What you're paying him for is a solution to your problem. And so this concept has literally been around since the beginning of time. In the beginning of times, we had blacksmiths, farmers, carpenters. In the modern era, we had plumbers, we have mechanics. But nowadays, with digital shift that's happening, the trade has become more about running ads, creating content, or building websites, and everything is now happening digitally. So this is where it brings us to the point that digital services are the new modern day trade. So the question is, if a digital service is such a great business model, how does it compare to every other way to make money online? Well, that brings us to being able to look at this logically and be able to assess this as a beginner to view what is the best business model. And if we're looking for the best business model for us, we're going to look at 5 key metrics, which is your barrier of entry, the level of risk that you take on, the level of scalability, and the dependency on other factors that are outside of your control, and the security long-term of you pursuing that business model. So the metrics that we want to optimize for to identify the best beginner-friendly business model is making sure that the barrier of entry is low and it's easy to get started. We have a low sense of risk, and that we don't take on a lot of capital and or time wasted in order to start the business model. We have a high sense of scalability, knowing that we can grow this business a lot if we decide to. We have a low dependency on outside factors that we can't control, and a high sense of longevity and security with the business model that we pick. So that brings me to my first business model, which is dropshipping. And so the thing is that a lot of people don't tell you about dropshipping is that the barrier of entry is extremely high. You need a lot of capital, and you actually need a lot of skills. And that's why the risk is so high, because you have to invest into advertising, you have to invest into the actual shipping, you have to invest into the actual products. And there's a lot of things that come up front with running this type of business model. On the other hand, the scalability is extremely high. However, the profit margins are really low. And so the problem with drop shipping as a whole is the fact that the dependency is extremely high. There are factors like the trends, there are factors like tariffs, there are factors that happen within the economy that you simply just can't control. That leads us to having a low sense of security. The best analogy I can give to you as a beginner looking at drop shipping is essentially setting up a thrift store. Getting all of these designs into your place, you have to pay for the actual facility, and you might even have designs and ugly stuff that people don't even want. That leads us to the second business model, which is promoted online a lot, which is selling courses and information online. And the reality of it, the barrier of entry is relatively high. People say that you can go onto ChatGPT and create a course and go and sell it online as a digital product or an informational course. But the reality of it is that is simply not the case. You're going to have a very low quality course. You're going to have no background and experience to lean on in order to convince people that your course even makes sense to buy. Therefore, it is not a viable option because of the barrier of entry. The risk is obviously low because information doesn't really have a lot of drawbacks to it. It doesn't take a lot of startup capital other than sweat equity. The scalability is high because there's not a lot of deliverability. And the dependency is somewhat medium because you have to be somewhat skilled in order to succeed with it. And then the security of it is extremely low because information is accessible by all. They have access to the same tools that you do. And, trends and new business models pop up all the time. So the information product that you create could then lose its trendability within the next 3 to 6 months. So the equivalent of this is like being Einstein or being the person that says you're going to get somebody jacked, but you've never done it before. And you're maybe as smart as a monkey and you have a monkey's experience being able to actually build a business online. So you don't want to be an imposter. That leads us to trading. So barrier of entry for trading is medium. The reason why it's medium is because it takes some sort of money to get started with, a decent amount, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 if you actually want to make a decent trade. The risk is extremely high because you could blow up your account in a single day and lose all the money that you've invested or saved up. The scalability is extremely low because you can't hire anybody for it. Dependency is high because you're the key man risk. And then it is low security because it can be shifted with other types of trends and shifts within the marketplace. So that's something that you have to account for. So essentially, trading is just glorified gambling, in my opinion. So affiliate marketing, the next one, the barrier of entry is pretty low. The risk is low. The scalability is medium, but the dependency is extremely high. And the dependency is high because you're basically selling somebody else's product and, trying to convince other people that they should buy the product that you're promoting. So, you obviously have to take the time, effort, and energy to build a brand or to run ads or to promote their product, and you don't even know if it's good, right? So it's essentially like a multi-level marketing scheme where you're selling other people's products and trying to get other people to buy so that you can get a commission. So it's honestly not a long-term viable marketing play. So that leads us to software, where people think software is a great business model to start as a beginner. But to be honest with you, the barrier of entry is extremely high. There are people that take on venture capitalist money that take millions of dollars on, and you would need at least $250,000 to $500,000 to properly pay for developers, pay for people to actually code the actual software, and you actually have to have skills. It's super high risk because you don't even know if you have product market fit or that people are going to enjoy your product. 3, it is really scalable, which is the upside, and the dependency is low because it's your own product. And the long-term longevity of this is that it's high, but with the high barrier of risk and the high barrier of entry, you really don't want to look at it as a viable option. You're really looking at it from a standpoint of being the next Mark Zuckerberg or having the next big idea, which I told you probably isn't the best suited for your situation because it takes a lot of effort and energy. So that leads us to digital services. And the barrier of entry for digital services is extremely low. You need a Wi-Fi connection and a few softwares to get started. The risk is low because you only have to develop your skill set. And the scalability is maybe the only drawback because, unlike these other business models, you probably more than likely aren't going to get this to $100 million. You could potentially get it to 10 million. Very few people do it with the service-based business, but you could definitely get it to a million. But when it comes to being a beginner, your most key focus is going to be optimized for at least just getting cash flow. The dependency is the lowest out of all of them because you don't have to depend on anybody else. It's based on your skill set. You have long-term security because people will always pay for solutions. And that has been the case since the beginning of time. So with digital services, the reason why it beats out all of the other business models, logically speaking, is because at the end of the day, this business model is based off of your skill set. And your skill set is the main thing that allows you to have a leg up over all the other business models, because long term, you can turn this into a different type of business because you can transfer the skills that you develop. And there are a lot of variables that are within your control. You control literally everything from the service to the way that you deliver it, to the way that you price it, everything from A to Z. So the idea here is that this concept has been around forever, and the skill and the craft has been the same since the beginning of time. The only difference now is the art starting to look different. So if digital services is the clear winner here, how do we actually make it work? Well, that's where the digital trade model comes in. And the digital trade model is based off of 3 core pillars, which is one skill, one offer, and one system to sell. And it's a lot simpler than you may actually think. So let's start off with one skill. A lot of people think that they need one grandiose idea, but in reality, you just need a useful skill. So a lot of people think, oh, well, I don't have a skill people are willing to pay for. Well, people are already paying for skills. You just have to develop one that people are willing to pay for. So the big 3 for developing a skill that people are willing to pay for, you need to ensure that that skill creates a tangible outcome, solves a big problem, and is in demand within the marketplace. And so some practical skills to start off with: either solve a problem within the relationship aspect of life, wealth aspect of life, or the health aspect of life. And those are the 3 big core problems and desire states that people have. They always revolve around one of those 3. And so, for example, some of the ones that you can get started off with is copywriting, advertising, being able to help people lose weight, or help with mental health and wellness. So that is a place for you to actually go ahead and get started. And so the demand for the skills actually already exists. The only thing that you have to do is just look around. Are there local service-based businesses that already offer the service? Or is there Fiverr postings online? Are there other people that have made a career out of it? And you'll see that people already have existing skills and you just have to go and learn it. And so this brings me to Joseph Lumi. And Joseph Lumi, just like many of you guys watching, are currently working a 9-to-5. And he was working a corporate job where he would work almost 60 hours a week. And he felt like he didn't have a skill that he could provide to the marketplace. And that's where we spent some time to actually help him develop a in-demand skill like media buying. And we helped him find people that he could go and serve, which was wedding event DJs. And he was able to help them deliver a service where he helps them attract and convert customers with IG. And so even though he had minimal time, he only had to put 1 to 2 hours towards honing his craft and delivering a service and being able to position himself in a way that people are willing to buy his service. Within 30 days, he was able to make 9.5K within a month with barely any time being put towards the business model. And this actually set him up to be able to be in a position where he could quit his job and now go full-time into building his digital service-based business. And so that leads us into point number 2, which is having one offer. So most people believe that even if you had a skill, nobody's willing to pay me. Like, who would pay me out of everybody that's out there? And so the reality that you have to come to a conclusion towards is that people don't pay for time. They actually pay for outcomes. And so that has been a truth. And you can take the analogy of the mechanic. You can take the analogy of a fitness trainer. You can take the analogy of a dentist. You're not paying them for their time, you're paying them for their skills and the outcome that they can produce for you. In context, when you have your skill, you simply want to find what person can you use your skill for that has a problem that they're experiencing that you can go and solve. It's about as simple as that. So the offer is simply, how can I use this skill for this problem that this person experiences? And so at the end of the day, you have to understand that people only care about what you can do for them. How long is it going to take? And is it going to be worth their time? And if you can hit all three of those things and articulate the value of what your service can do for them, they will buy. And so when you create your offer stack, it is as simple as having a clear, tangible outcome by when you can deliver this service. How long is it going to take for them to see the result that you promised? And then having a clear price point in relation to the value of the outcome that you can provide. And so the one thing that you have to understand is that sales isn't about being sleazy. It isn't about tricking people. It's simply being able to solve a problem that people are willing to pay for. And you don't have to trick people into buying your service, because there are people that already have this problem and are willing to exchange money to solve it. And so this is exactly how Wahab failed. Wahab had the skill set of copywriting, and he was really good at writing very persuasive pieces of emails. However, the thing is, he had a mental block of not feeling like he could charge for his services and his expertise, even though he was good. And so what we ended up helping him do was we helped him find who he could help, which we ended up identifying the audience of other coaches and consultants that are online. And we helped him put together a service that would help them convert $10,000 to $30,000 a month with email. And when we positioned it like that, during a time frame within 90 days, which he was able to do, he was making $4,000 a month within 60 days. Or take, for example, Aiden. Aiden was a college intern who had failed multiple businesses and had developed somewhat of a tangible skill set. He already knew a little bit about video editing and videography and being able to go and capture attention. But the problem was he didn't know how to put himself in a position where he could offer a service where people were willing to say yes to. And so with his skill set, he already knew how to create content and run ads. And so when we helped him identify a business to go after, which are local service-based businesses, he was able to go out there, build a marketing system that helped them convert sales. And after putting together a simple offer, within 45 days, he was able to make $6,000 a month with, at the same time, going and playing basketball and being in school. So for context, by just positioning yourself, if you just spend 1 to 2 hours a day honing your craft, reaching out to people and seeing if you can help them, there are people that are in the market that will gladly pay you for your services. So last but not least, that brings us to developing one system to sell. So a lot of people struggle with being able to get clients consistently, or they think that it's going to be hard to get clients. And the truth is, without a system, you're honestly just chasing gigs. But with the system, clients can come to you. So think of being able to set up your social media like a digital storefront. So being able to set up your digital storefront, think of the internet as a super busy highway with a bunch of traffic on it. And our goal is to be able to set up your digital storefront in a way where we just direct some of that traffic towards our store. And so when we can get some of the attention to flow to our store and get some people that are interested to come to our digital storefront, when we have them walk into our store, they can go in and have a little bit of an experience. They can see some of the testimonials that are in our store. They could see a little bit about our services. They could see a little bit about what we stand for, and they get to know, like, and trust a little bit about our business. And so if somebody is genuinely interested, they'll have the opportunity to raise their hand, and we'll have the opportunity to go in and present our services to them. And if they like what they see and they feel like we can help them out, and in our end, we feel like they're a good fit for us, we can present our services and then be able to deliver them for them. And for complete context, this brings me to Elijah Mananis. And Elijah Mananis was somebody who had the skill set of being able to close and set appointments. And he was targeting aspiring entrepreneurs, but the problem that he was facing was he didn't know how to consistently get customers. He had this valuable skill set and he knew that he could help other people, but after he set up his digital storefront. He set up his Instagram in a way and his YouTube page in a way where people could get to know, like, and trust him, see his testimonials, see that he had a service that could change their entire life. That's when he was able, over a 12-month time period, be able to go from zero to getting to $27,000 in a month. And so the skill, offer, and one system to sell, the digital trade model has actually been around forever. And this is how men back in the day were able to actually go from an apprentice to a journeyman to actually becoming a master. An apprentice has to learn the actual skill set, and they actually have to go through the actual discipline to become good and develop the skill set that is valuable. As a journeyman, you go into the marketplace and you get people to buy your product and your service. And when you become a master, you own your own trade and you have your own clients, your own storefront, and your own setup within society. And being noteworthy of being a master of your craft and being able to deliver your service for many people and being the best in class. So if you're watching this at this point, you have two options from here. Either stay drifting, stuck in the same position that you've been in, wasting years of your life trying to figure things out, staying at your dead-end job, getting replaced by AI, and missing one of the biggest opportunities of our generation. And within 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, looking back on your life and feeling regret for staying where you're at. Or on the other hand, you can actually take the time to learn a real skill set, join a brotherhood of men that are chasing the same mission, become sovereign, become respected, become recession-proof, and follow a proven path to be able to make money online. Ultimately, if you follow path 2, you will become somebody who is undeniable, able to control their time, their future, and their income, and ultimately be able to build an identity and thrive within any market because you carry real value. We're at one of the biggest turning points in history, and the digital trade era is happening whether you like it or not, and what you decide to do today will dictate the rest of your future. You can either watch it pass you by, or you can step into the arena and become somebody who's driven. So if you feel like you're somebody who is meant for more and you have gifts and talents that you don't want to go to waste and you want to become the best version of yourself possible, what I invite you to do is click the link down below, apply to see if you're someone who can join the brotherhood, and I'll see you on the inside.